Okay, we're here, so we need coming back out of the closed session,
Your
a
Honor,
motion.
I'll make a motion that we go back into regular session.
Second. Motion by Councilman Michael, supported by Councilman Lamore to go back into open session. Clerk, I think we need rolls, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini? Here. Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Here.
Whitman?
Here.
Okay,
This is to go back.
Yeah, we'll go back in session, so it's a yes.
Iko Angeli?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes, and now we need a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
Motion to adjourn the special meeting?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Germaini to go back, or to close the special session. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very well. It's closed, and this time we'll call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Here.
Lamore?
Here.
Felder?
Here.
Whitman?
Here.
Iko Angeli?
Here.
Vining?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here. I'd ask we all please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guide our working together, give us wisdom to make the right decisions, your understanding to listen to each other, and your compassion to promote the peace and welfare of the residents of the community.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is the opportunity to amend the agenda.
There's any amendments to the agenda by council?
Yes, Your Honor, under council action, I would like to add the item to authorize the city manager to engage consultants and/or experts for pending litigation.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilman Michael, supported by Councilman Lamore. Just want to clarify, you said under council action?
Under council action.
Very good.
Did you get that, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay.
Gonna make a motion.
Yeah, so we need a vote to amend the agenda. So if there's no other comments, amendment to agenda the agenda. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Iko Angeli?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is a proclamation.
So we have a proclamation for this evening. I see that Connie Carroll is here. I wonder if she's going to join me for a moment regarding to the United Nations. So she's going to meet me at the microphone, make a few comments. Apologize, I didn't see past some of the other members here, of course, the chairperson and representatives of the United Way. So I'm going to start by just first welcoming those from the United Way here, because this is our proclamation, and while we do it annually doesn't mean that it's any less important. I think about what our community is about, our support of our community, and our organizations such as United Way, and what they do in our community and how they lead and champion causes. So we have a proclamation from the City Council here. As they start their annual campaign, United Way begins mid-September and runs to the end of October. I know there's many that give within our community, but also very much so from our city and our employees and other groups that support the United Way. You know, they allocate funds to 25 different nonprofit agencies and supply residents with emergency and basic needs. There's much that we know the United Way does, and this is our opportunity as the City Council to recognize the United Way for all they do, and this year's campaign being Working United, Living United. And I'll let, well, it's on our proclamation here. I'm not going to read it all, because I'll give Connie and, of course, those present here, Paul Van Aken and Mike Smith, to talk about some of the items in which they're representing what they're doing. But to finish the proclamation, on behalf of the City Council and their support, we full support that the hereby proclaim the month of October 2018 as United Way Month in the City of Monroe. So I'll start by presenting this, and hopefully we'll have some comments from those present. Connie?
Mr. Mayor and Council, Because United Way is a volunteer-driven organization, and because I feel that it's important for you to hear from our volunteers of why they truly believe in the United Way, I'd like to introduce one of our campaign chairs for this year, Paul Van Aken, and I'm sure Paul will have plenty to share with you about what we're doing at United Way.
Thank you, Connie. And thank you, Council, for the opportunity to address you tonight. I am Paul Van Aken. Along with my wife, Tammy, we co-chair the 2018-19 United Way campaign. So I'd like to start off by thanking the city, Mayor Clark, for the proclamation, and as well as the city employees for their support. I'd like to mention that Michelle Lavoie is our board president, and Mayor Clark and many of the council members are strong supporters and attend many of our events, so thank you. United Way and the city have a mutual interest in the welfare and advancement of the city and city residents. In fact, the United Way 2018-19 campaign theme this year is Working United, Living United. That's the United Way. So it is a community interest that we all serve, and very fitting and appropriate that the city makes this proclamation. On behalf of United Way, the representatives, employees, and volunteers, I thank you. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank the city council members and all their employees who support this organization, not only through their financial contributions, but also through their volunteer efforts, because we all know when we engage in this community that it makes a better place to raise a family. So thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Just come back up for a second as I present the proclamation. You know, that when they had the kickoff breakfast, and as Paul took his leadership, he mentioned how he and his wife Tammy are co-chairs, and one of the first things he did was wanted to engage with small business within our community. And he announced that he had approached Brian and Diane Reichert from Tim Hortons to also be co-chairs, to really bring in that other part of our well-giving community within our small business that we all visit and all participate in, but also their return back to our community. So, Paul, as I present this to you, I just want to make comment on that and say thank you for extending those outreach to the other business as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is citizen comments not related to an agenda item, and I have a letter that is, have been requested to read into the record.
So we'll start there and see if there's other comments from those present here this evening.
This letter is dated September 27th, 2018. Dear Mayor Clark and members of the Monroe City Council, Seaway Asset Management of Maumee, Ohio manages the 102 townhouse development of the Towns on Front in Monroe. Since mid-October 2017, the Towns on Front Homeowners Association has paid out $50 weekly to our landscaping provider, Monroe of Ida, to pick up trash left behind by your contracted provider, Waste Management. Trash pickup for the Towns on Front is usually Wednesdays, and since mid-October 2017, Monroe has consistently picked up trash left behind by Waste Management. The payments to Monroe directly come out of the HOA fees paid by each owner, and as you can see, the amount we have paid out is a tidy sum. As the management company for the Towns on Front, Seaway Asset Management and the owners take great pride in how we maintain the property. The HOA would certainly like to spend the amount used to pick up trash left behind by Waste Management for other improvements, but that requires the council and city administration to either create and enforce a corrective action plan with Waste Management, or perhaps look for another trash removal company that will actually pick up the trash. Our homeowners have reported to us that there are other areas in the city experiencing the same problems as the Towns on Front. The Towns on Front owners pay their property taxes. I believe it is ridiculous that these homeowners have to pay an additional amount to have trash not picked up by your contracted provider, Waste Management. The next HOA board meeting is Thursday, October 18th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. My contact information is below my signature. I would hope by this date the council and the administration will have created a solution to this problem, and hopefully I will be able to share that solution with the HOA's board members. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation with this most foul, ongoing, and expensive problem. Sincerely, Mike Eckel, Seaway Asset Management Company.
Thank you. I know that that was sent, I think, electronically as well. I spoke with the clerk, and there's a little challenge of getting that printed out for council and make sure that that is made available. Clerk said she'll make that available to council in either electronically or in a copy.
Tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Pastor, if there's any comments, if not, we'll
Well,
move
we've had
forward.
ongoing issues trying to resolve that. Certainly, we've had conversations with Waste Management. So, we'll have more further conversations with them to try and figure out how we can remedy the challenges that we've had with that particular area and the pickup. We've had a couple other areas, but I think a lot of those have really, since going to the unlimited pickup, have kind of settled in, so we don't nearly have as many challenges or issues that initially arose with the new contract for a much broader and expansive service. So we'll get back with them and focus on and see if we can do something to remedy that with that specific residential development.
Thank you. Are there other comments from those present here this evening not related to an agenda item? At the podium, and name and address, please. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Pamela Foster. I reside at 316 Half Street, Monroe, Michigan. Monroe's beauty relies mostly from the gift of its people, but there's also a side of Monroe County and the city of Monroe that is disturbing, and that is a problem of speeding, drugs, and overall disrespect. First, I would like to address the overall disrespect issue. Approximately 2 weeks ago, my husband and I, we were sitting in our home, and a fight, not once, but twice, had broke out in front of our home. Monroe police, as quickly as they could, responded. An arrest did ensue, and 2 officers were assaulted. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because it looks like the offenders were teens or young adults. Second, there has been times where I have been walking my service dog in training, Ruckus, and mine and my husband's other 2 dogs, and because of speeders, we've almost been hit. I am practically blind in one eye. So there's times where I rely on my service dog in training to help me. We have children and elderly that live on the Half Street, 3rd and 4th Street areas. What will happen if one of those speeders hits a person? Not a great mark on the county and the city of Monroe, correct? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Monroe's my adopted home. And I want to see the beauty of Monroe and the Monroe County region grow and prosper, not only for economic reason, but because of the people. The people is what makes Monroe and Monroe County. And I'd like to see things happen for the good. Maybe a teen center. And we do have some empty business buildings that could be excellently used for that purpose, so that the youth have a place to go after school, and mentoring programs such as Big Brother, Big Sister. I'm not sure if Monroe County has that, but the area where I'm from, originally in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, has that program, and it has proven to be an excellent asset. So I'm asking for the city to please do something. I know that sometimes the people will say, don't snitch, don't tell. You'll be in danger if you let the drug dealers know who you are. I was United States Army. My term and oath of enlistment has never ended. I served my community when I was a soldier in uniform. Now I serve in another way. By traveling and extolling the virtues about the beauty of Monroe County and the city of Monroe. All I wish is that something be done about the speeders. Something be done to curb the idle hands of the youth so that no more fighting happens, and something be done about the speeders so that a parent doesn't get the but the dreadful knock on the door saying that your child or your loved one has been killed on the side of the road by a speeder, because that next of kin call is something a policeman nor a firefighter should ever have to do. I witnessed that first face. My brother was a firefighter and had to make that call. It tore me apart. It was my best friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. And then Chief McCormick is here, and I know that if you haven't chatted, you'll have an opportunity before you depart, maybe some more specific information if there's time or whatever, but or day of the week, and any specifics you can provide to him. I know from the speeding aspect, there's alternatives they have for that besides just sitting there with a patrol car. There's some neighborhood items as well, and thank you for your time.
I thank you for your time and consideration and listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments from those present here this evening? Further comments? Seeing none, clerk, next item, please.
The next item would be the added agenda item under council action to authorize the hiring of consultants and/or experts for upcoming pending litigation.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I would move that we authorize the city manager to execute documents for the retention of consultants or experts as recommended, and that we authorize the city manager in consultation with the city assessor to execute any documents necessary for the retention of additional consultants or experts as recommended by the city's tax council.
Second. There's a motion by Councilman Feller, supported by Councilman Moore, regarding authorization of the city manager regarding hiring of consultant experts pending litigation. Mr. Buds, if there are any comments, if that's...
I don't have any comments. I'm comfortable with that motion as stated, Your Honor.
If there's no other comments from council, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Equangeli?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and under item B, approval of payments to vendors, the amount should read $1,026,882.04. 1026882.04.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd like to pull item number 2161, please.
Other items on the consent agenda council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? Seeing none, are there any items on the consent agenda those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Any items to be pulled from those present here this evening? Seeing none, motion be in order.
Your Honor,
Councilman Lamore?
motion that we approve the consent agenda as written and carry out all the motions that are written within the consent agenda.
Minus the one that's pulled.
Minus item number 2161.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Germaini, that all items not pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion be accepted, approved, and resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Equangeli?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Councilman Lamore?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry.
Regarding item number 2161, the purchase of the chairs for the city council chambers, the amount that's written in here, $24,639, maybe I'm a bit
behind the times. I'm not certain, but it seems a bit expensive. That's why I was kind of pulling that. I'd like a little bit more information on what we're getting here.
Sure. Mr. Pastu, if you'll start.
So background with this, you have a handout that should be in front of you, putting the chairs together. We're looking at the purchase of 100 chairs, 50 with arms, 50 without. The difference in pricing is approximately $26. The top end with the chairs is $252. Yes, it seems that that's pretty expensive. We've had the previous chairs for approximately 40 years. In prior council renovation I was involved with, this is not out of the ballpark. Certainly is part of not only the council chamber, but also as part of a review with the new fire station. Our clerk treasurer has been involved with looking at different vendors, along with Jody Egan, our communications director. This is part of a governmental purchase, and it's really not that far out from where you would have chairs that are appropriate for community type of meetings. They're built to last. I got the fabric here, and I have, if you want to pass it around to look at it, but it's durable enough to handle years and years of folks sitting and getting up and down with that. And so, again, having some experience with this dollar pricing is not out of line for this type of chair that would go for a council chamber or any kind of public meeting. The other aspect of it is stackable, which allows for the when the new chamber is open, the multi-purpose aspect of it, which was a limitation with the previous chairs that we had. So.
Maybe I'll make a follow-up comment, because I was not on the group that did the tour to the company, but also Pat Weaver attended that as well, administrative assistant. And it was interesting when they came back and started talking about the variety that they did look through that were available. And there's a rating of how many rubs a piece of fabric can take. And I didn't know that, but evidently there is. And that changes by the cost as well. And they felt confident with as they looked at the variety of examples, as well as not just the structure of the chair and the fabric, but the durability, as was stated by the city manager. Councilman Lamore.
Did we seek out any other vendors besides this one to get some bids?
Well, as I said, they actually visited a number of vendors, and their pricing was part of that. This was a selection as a result of it. Again,
any local vendors?
What's that?
Any local vendors?
I don't believe so, no. But again, the durability, I think there's probably a limited world that's going to sell something like this for this durability. Certainly working with our architect on both projects, that we thought this was the best value, and I'll use the term value, to get a long-term chair that will work, for this council chambers for a few decades.
Councilman?
No further questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other comments from council on this item? I'll start at the end and come back. Councilwoman Germaine, I'll start there.
Are these chairs have an additional width for the larger population? Do you know?
I'm not sure what the width of it is. It certainly has a 250-pound weight capacity. In looking at the spec on this item, but I think it's probably going to be pretty standard with most type of chairs. Certainly, that's part of the rationale going some with arms, some without. You have that level of flexibility. If someone needs a little bit wider chair, they don't have to necessarily have one with arms.
Thank you.
Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. As part of the agenda packet, because I'm not unsympathetic to Councilman Lamore's concerns with this, and maybe it's because I'm an old fogey too. But we've also encumbered between $5,000 and $10,000 for council chairs, and I was wondering, is it just the 10 of us up here for those chairs? And at that point, are we looking at a piece price of between $500 and $1,000 per chair?
About $700 is probably where that's coming in at.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if we could perhaps explore and assess lower series options.
Being the smart aleck I can be at times, I said we can get stools. Of course, we're not going to do that, but there are lower options. But you get what you pay for. And bear in mind, it's not going to be just the city council. It is going to be your planning commission and other members that are going to be engaged in the dais. And again, take the long-term perspective. Those chairs that we had there were there for 40 years. We're expecting maybe not quite that similar duration, but clearly in the other community I was in, when we did a renovation, those chairs that we had, very similar to the ones that you have here, had been there almost 30 years. And one of the things we contemplated, were we better off replacing them or reupholstering them? Reupholstering was almost in the high 100s per chair. So pricing is not out of line, again, in the context of looking at what you want for a council chamber type of chair, with the flexibility of being stackable, movable, and giving you that flexibility for a multi-purpose type of room.
Your Honor, I just have one more question.
Councilman Moore?
Yes, do we know where these chairs are made?
That I don't know. I'm sure it specifies in here where their origin of assembly is.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Biden?
I'm just curious, since Brian asked the question, are there local vendors who make these type of chairs?
I'm sure if we put it out to bid, we would find vendors that would bid on it locally. Again, putting together a specification that is going to give you something that has the strength, the durability, the reliability. You can put a spec together any way you want. But if we were to go back out again, would you find somebody locally to do it less expensive?
I just
There might
ordered
be-
a drafting chair, and it was over $300. So I know chairs can get very expensive.
Mr. Pesto, I'm not sure if any of the staff here may have an answer to at least one or a couple of those questions, whether Mr. Lewis or Mr. Cochran.
About
one of the questions that came from a council, maybe where they're made or something, I'm not sure.
United States.
Okay.
Indiana.
Indiana. Other questions regarding this topic item?
A
Councilman
brief
Feldman?
comment, Your Honor. In lieu of current events, with the uncertainty regarding DTE and this being a discretionary expenditure that it seems that we could incur and will have to incur during the fire station opening, that we could do this at a more financially secure time. Not to invoke austerity, but there is some belt tightening going on, and at times that is uncomfortable. And I just would be hesitant to move forward with any expenditures that could hold off until later on. In part of this project, there's an additional $40-some thousand that's going to have to be expended for the fire station's furniture as well. So we're going to have to make this purchase with this or a similar vendor at a later date in either case.
Well, I'll just make a first response is the council chambers will be open prior to that. I'm not sure the current chairs are after 40 years where they stand. So I don't know if Mr. Pesto has any other comment on that.
I don't.
Councilman Eckelingen.
Your Honor, I don't want to discount what other council people's concerns are, but the time to really get serious about taking a look at budgets and costs is when we're doing the budget in March review, when we're talking of budgets that deal in the millions of dollars. Paying $225 for a chair that you're expecting to get at least 15 or 20 years worth of service out of, it is not an expensive item, especially for the repurposing of the council chamber to be used by multiple committees where you're going to have these things stacked, unstacked, moved around. They're not going to be in a static position. We're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars on redoing the council chamber to make it more beneficial for community engagement, for presentations, and then the idea of using chairs that we had 40 years ago that are, not functional. They're not going to be stackable. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think I think we need to consciously have the DTE issue in mind, but I think sometimes we can't let it also be a barrier to some of these approvals that we have to make. I mean, we approved a contract 2 months ago for $6 million for a fire station, and it wasn't even pulled off the agenda. And then now we're talking about spending $25,000 on chairs, and it seems to be a problematic issue with expense. So I think we have to put all this stuff in perspective as we move forward. With that said, Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the selection, the recommendation and the selection and the acquisition and the purchase of the chairs as recommended by the city administrative staff.
Support.
There's a motion by Councilman Kalanick, supported by Councilman Vining on item 2161, but I'll take final comments from the council members if they wish. Councilman Moore?
Yeah, I think in general, we're just asking questions as to where the price, quite frankly, it's shocking, the price tag. So for me, it's a different little element there. Not saying I don't want to select from a good chair. I think it's a good idea to have a good chair, and I understand Councilman Felder's idea of reusing what we have, repurposing more or less from what we had before. Not trying to knock this in any way, fashion, or form, but just it's a little eye-opening when you see a number like that that's going to be used for our purpose, and it's something that I like to be a little less beneficial to is us, and a little bit more beneficial to our community. So that's I guess what we're trying to think from that. That's the way I'm parlaying it is to say that we want to consider all alternatives, and that's knowing that it's made in America. That's helpful. Knowing that it's durable, that's good. So I don't think it's a matter of disapproving what's here. It's just questioning what we see.
Okay. Other comments of council other than the motion? Ready to go, Councilman Felder?
I guess I'll end with what I opened with. The concern is not primarily the $24,000 that we see in front of us now, but the additional 10 for the council chairs and the additional 44 for the fire station. Now we're talking $80,000 in furniture costs. And now we're talking to expenses equitable of a staffing level. No single drop of rain is going to think itself the fault for the storm, but if you chip away at it and have that attitude about the expenditures, I think that's how we're going to make some headway. We can't just wait until the big stuff comes and then expect them to, make all the progress that we need to all at once.
Thank you. There's a motion and a support. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Fillmore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Michelangeli?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Motion. Clerk, next item, please.
I have no other items, Your Honor.
It's October. Who starts? Oh,
That count, it's me.
I keep looking to the right, I know, that's Councilwoman Jermaine, because there's only 2 months left, which is
No
the
one
last
wants
two
to volunteer for
No, I just, it'd take a second, that new math. Okay, Councilwoman Jermaine, please start.
All right. I want to congratulate Paul Lamar and the Port of Monroe for receiving the Paysetter Award. Also, This Friday is zombie night in Monroe, so be very afraid, and please watch out for all the little kids and their parents, as in the next few weeks we'll have them all over the streets at different events, because there's a lot of events going on every week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Wilmore?
Yes, Your Honor. I as well would like to congratulate Paul Lamar on the outstanding job he's been doing here at the City of Monroe with the Port of Monroe. Winning the Pacer Award, I believe, not just this one time, but a couple of times in the past as well. So being a liaison to the Port Commission, he's done some incredible things. He's working tirelessly to make sure that the Port of Monroe is not only a good functioning port, but an economic prosperity for the City of Monroe. So congratulations to him, and thank you for his outstanding efforts. I think are just an incredible job he's doing down there. Another situation, the trash situation, we heard a letter coming in from Seaway Asset Management. I still have some issues that I'm not getting accounted for. The reporting of the tonnage to the county, we still can't put our finger on whether or not they're actually doing it or not, which would be in violation of the contract. So it's something we really need to look into legally. I hate beating a dead horse, but if it's not working, we need to fix it. So let's get that action done. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Felder?
Well, it's been a busy week, busy weekend. A lot of events going on, Blacktop Bash, some other community events. The Monroe International Friendship Association had a visiting musical performer, which was just a wonderful event to watch at the IHM. And that group really does, I think, provide a great service between our city and our sister city. It was wonderful to hear. I hope we continue the arts and culture moving forward. And then finally, the ALCC grand reopening. They were in a rough spot when we started here, and we've been on a long road with them. And it's been tough and uncomfortable, but I think it's been worthwhile, and I think that the event on Saturday showed that. The partnerships that they're engaging in, I think, have been tremendously helpful and eye-opening and surprising at what can be accomplished, no matter what your current position is, with the MSU Agriculture Program, the Monroe County Community College, the Learning Bank, the library system, Friend of the Court. Many small businesses came out to support. The community helped its community center. The issue came up of what kids are to do, what recreation there is in the city, and how we can grow that through the surveys, through the comments of the citizens, and obviously it's a concern of theirs. I'm glad that we have the center. I hope we keep them around. They've come a long way on the path. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Whitman?
Yes, I also went to the ALCC. It was very enjoyable. It was great to see all the support they had down there, and everywhere I went all week long, they ran out of food. I got there too late everywhere I went. But they also had recovery in the park, and they were giving out Narcan. So, they had quite a showing. Quite a few people were there. The music was good. The kids had a good time. So it was a really good weekend. It was nice to see everyone remembering that, yes, we do have an epidemic, but there's also recovery in Monroe. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Colangelo?
Yes, Your Honor. Regarding the quest for to determine if waste management is doing their job effectively, I would just ask the residents, to use the My Monroe app, which is on iPhone or Android. And if they have a garbage complaint, you locate it. It has the option to take a photograph, and you send it in. I've used this a number of times. It works. The departments get back with you to tell you that your case is resolved. And it helps build a database for complaints. So we have something to benchmark our concerns with relative to contractual obligations. So we've invested in the technology. I would like the community to use it. It's free. It's a real easy application to use, and it helps give data to the city administration to correct problems. So another issue that I have, which is more on the political side, but one that I think we need to address. I had a call over the weekend from a resident who had received a postcard from the Michigan Republican Party, and it was regarding Michelle Lavoie. And what concerned me about it was the comments made on the card that were totally incorrect. And I would use the adjective political garbage to define it. The first accusation was, and I'll ask the city attorney for an opinion, said that Michelle Lavoie was involved in increasing the county budget by 17%. So I'm going to ask the city attorney, does the city clerk have the authority to increase the county budget?
Your Honor, no, I would say the city clerk does not have involvement in the county budget.
That's what I thought as well. The second part of the postcard was that the city clerk had given herself 3 salary increases over the last 5 years. Now I'm going to ask the mayor, Your Honor, can the city clerk give herself salary increases?
Well, the answer to that is no. In fact, I don't want to come in on your time, but the boards and commissions on one of my comments, and one of the commissions is the Local Officers Compensation Commission, which is in my notes here, about a vacancy, and I just want to talk about that in that respect. But the Local Officers Compensation Commission is made up of residents that are volunteers. They meet once every 2 years. They set the pay scale for the mayor, the council, and the clerk treasurer, all elected positions. And they meet prior to petitions being submitted. So it is unknown to the Local Officers Compensation Commission who will be in the seat after the election of next year. They'll meet again in July of this year, or next year, I'm sorry. It'll be before the election. So that the clerk also does not have a vote in that. It is a vote by the council, and the clerk does not have a vote by the Local Officers Compensation Commission's recommendation on salary.
Correct. And that's public information that I wanted to get out there. The city clerk cannot give herself a salary increase. In fact, I have the letter here addressed, dated August the 11th, 2017, which was in the city council packet, that where Kathleen Russo, who is chairman of the Local Officers Compensation Commission, which the mayor had referenced, they had authorized no change in the mayor or council salary, which they haven't for a long time. But they did increase the city clerk treasurer's salary by 5% in 2017 and recommended a 5% increase in 2018. Now the reason why they did that, and this is all on the web, and the Michigan Republican Party could have pulled the study off, is that Michelle's compensation for 2018 starting July 1 was $71,268, which based on the compensation study that the city had authorized in 2015 is actually the midpoint of the comparison of the communities that the consulting firm Municipal Consulting Services LLC used. They used the city of Adrian, Battle Creek, Holland, Jackson, Madison Heights, Midland, Mount Pleasant, Pittsfield Charter Township, Port Huron, Trenton, Wyandotte, the Ypsilanti Community Utility Authority, Monroe County, the Monroe County Community College, Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe Schools, and the Monroe Community Mental Health Authority to basically do the comparative wage analysis. And what they found was that the current wages for the city of Monroe's clerk position is, at that time of the study, was $63,000. They said the average for the market for the 9 municipalities out of the study group, The average was $80,999. They said that the City of Monroe clerk treasurer's position is 22% below the reported market wages and range. Okay, so then the local compensation commission, when they reviewed the report, because these were the questions that were asked back in 2017, they did not feel that they could increase Michelle's wages, the clerk's treasurer's wages, to a point which would be comparable to the study, because they felt that the clerk treasurer's position isn't hired by the city manager like some of the other clerks are, and that it's elected. And so they felt because it was an elected position, they should keep the wage compensation a little bit lower. So the thing that really concerned me was when the constituent called me up and talked to me about this, because obviously they got a postcard and they go, hey, what's going on, was that the postcard is just full of inaccuracies. And of course you would think that when there's an election going on, opposing parties are going to kind of spread some of this stuff around. But boy, this one was way off base. Michelle, or the clerk treasurer, does not authorize the county budget. She cannot increase her own budget. She cannot increase her wages. Those are all done by commissions, the mayor, the council, and the local compensation committee. So I just wanted to let the community know that they should take the postcard, the one that I saw, and basically summarily just throw it in the garbage, because that's really what it is. It's just political garbage. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Councilwoman Fine.
I just want to thank everyone for attending the ALCC grand reopening. It was a great success. I saw the mayor, Matt, several of the council members, the clerk treasurer. So the city really came out and supported, as they have consistently done since we started this reorganization. Thank you, John. Also, to Mrs. Foster, I'm glad you came down and spoke about some of your issues that you're having. Speeding is a problem that I'm noticing an awful lot. So I hope that we will be able to get with the chief of police and see what we can do about it. I don't want to put it all on the young people, but most of the time when I see it, it is like new drivers, young people, teenagers. It is dangerous. In my neighborhood, it's just out of control. So I have even called and reported speeding in the past. I don't know that I like the response, because I didn't see anybody get pulled over and get a ticket, but we'll see. Maybe the mayor mentioned that there might be other avenues that we can take to control the speeding issue. So, and with the fighting and stuff, I know we're doing all we can over at the community center and the local library to provide programming for the children. I've been working with kids for almost 30 years, and it's just a constant fight to try to figure out how to keep the children engaged and try to get the parents to be engaged with the young people. So we are working really hard, and if you want to come over and see us over at the local library or the community center and bring some of your expertise and some of your ideas, we'd be glad to have you.
I'd be honored.
Yes, thank you for coming and speaking about those things. And that's it, Your Honor.
Thanks, Councilman. I have a few items. I'll try to get through them quickly. Just want to let everybody know that the River Race National Battlefield Park has an autumn walk, which is scheduled for Saturday, October 6th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. A great opportunity to walk at the national park. Obviously, learn some about that, but also learn about how the gist of it is the Frenchtown residents back 200 years ago, about their harvests, their plants, other things they did as they got ready for the season back 200 years ago, but also an opportunity to learn more about our national park. There's the homecoming parade is this Friday for the Monroe High School. Their homecoming parade is Friday, October 5th, beginning at 5 p.m. We'll start at the Monroe Middle School, proceed to West 5th, then to Monroe Street, then to West Front Street, and to the Knights of Columbus, where it will conclude. So, opportunity to come out and support another one of our high schools as they get ready for their events. Earlier this evening, there was at our work session, the city survey results were reviewed, and it was a great job done by Florence Buchanan and Mark Cochran. I hope that people that may not have, weren't here or may not have seen it yet, have the opportunity to view it and learn about the results of the city and what their opinions are, and how then our comments by the council and the city manager as we move forward. Really looking at that in relation to our goals and objectives as we get through the next year plus on those items. You know, I'll make a comment just briefly about the waste management as we continue to work on those items that the city administration, city manager do address. One of the topics came up a few meetings ago about recycling. And while that is a complication on a national perspective, and actually international perspective of getting recycling handled by past countries who would take it, but we also can do our part to make sure what we put in the recycle bin is actually recyclable. Because that is one of the measurements that waste management and any management company that collects waste and recyclables will measure. If the quality is not there and it's not recyclable, your grading or level continues to deteriorate, and then of course it messes with the machinery. But then we'll have to address that and somehow potentially compensate for that. So I remind everybody to make sure that what you put in your recycle bin is items that are of the higher quality and can be recycled. If you can separate those by, you know, metal and glass and paper, that assists them as well. One of the events that was happened here a weekend ago was the downtown craft beer fest, which was very well attended and was first of its kind. I think we'll see more of those. I want to thank the Downtown Monroe Business Network and all the sponsors. Unfortunately, I don't have the list in front of me, so I'll just say all the sponsors with the DMVN that brought that event to us. I know that McGady's, with their support of their liquor license, and Crispica supported that as well. One of the items on tonight's agenda that we did not pull, but I think might address some of, or just another reflection on our conversation earlier about costs and how we expend things. But I want to give some recognition to Patrick Lewis Engineering, or DPS, and it was the Orchard Drive water main. It was a change order awards, which meant when you first look at it, you think, well, we're maybe spending more money or doing more, but was recognizing the importance of doing it now and doing it in a fashion that's going to be more cost effective than just letting it go and coming back and redoing streets. So I thought that item is an example of how the staff works together, whether it be water, wastewater, engineering, and other departments, when we look at a street project, because we saw in our survey, which you'll go look at here hopefully in the near future, recognizing that infrastructure on our roads was one of the highest items of importance for the residents in the city. But I wanted to show that we are looking at as a city, and in particular the staff and the great work they do to make sure they bring things forward in a timely fashion, especially at the end of the year when, you know, maybe the revenues are getting less than those projects, but the opportunity is there to make sense to do it now. So I just want to say thanks for that. A couple other comments. I'll start with the one that's positive and others that we need to have attention about. So SEMCOG, which the council supports, has been a member of SEMCOG and provided committee and leadership there as well. Came out on their website, the Walk, Bike, Drive Safe in Southeast Michigan. And it's really a lot of information and statistics you can get on SEMCOG's website. You know, while we have the fewest number of traffic crashes involve those that are pedestrians or on bicyclists, it accounts for the highest percentage of fatalities. And I think it's a combination of our non-motorized movement forward in not only in our community in Southeast Michigan and our country, but it also understands that maybe our drivers aren't recognizing what is allowable by law in that. So there's a lot of safety tips there and information I hope that people will take time to look into. I'll probably be telling the city manager maybe of a presentation from SEMCOG in the future before the winter season comes to to maybe speak to some of these items. There's, of course, the Park Finders app, another app that's easily downloaded. You just go to SEMCOG and you want to find a park in southeast Michigan. It could be from our Labor Park right on to Belle Isle, and anywhere in southeast Michigan. You can go to this park. It'll tell you the information about it, what amenities are there. It's a great app that SEMCOG launched. And not to get off just the parks, but also they have the land and water trails that just came out here 2 weeks ago. And it's SEMCOG launched the Southeast Michigan Trail Explorer. So if you want to see where there's a walking trail, but they also did it through a mechanism, and you can go on there and view the trail, what it looks like. But you can also do that on the waterways because maybe you're kayaking, canoeing, or just want to fish and see what the river looks like. You can go on this app and it'll show you, and it'll take you like you're going down the river. So it's really kind of interesting. The next item I have is regarding the legislation that's pending and the importance of this. And we've talked about this in the past as a council. We've supported the support of combating, whether it be at a state or federal level. There is a Senate Bill 637, which talks about, again, the small cell towers, but more so the right-of-way and the ability for companies to come in and simply use the city's right-of-way without any opportunity for the city to have conversation or to negate putting what anybody who has utilities of any fashion within the right-of-ways. There's a lot that's there already now, and when it's put up, it's going to fall back to the city as we try to do improvements to know what's there. So Senate Bill 637 does come to committee on Thursday. I know that the MML does not support it, as well as many other townships, communities, because of the restriction in their taking of local control or authority about property. Along with that, the current cable franchise revenues likely will be negatively impacted. So tonight we're on Impact, and we have also the government channel, and the reductions potentially as you see that comes through, because there'll be other fashions in which things might be delivered. Public property lease within the wireless industry will be impacted. So we get franchise fees, and that's how we're able to produce this and video and have this displayed to our community. And yet, what will the impact be if it's not, and if it's changed and not taken into consideration? We saw one of the items on our survey, which was, I'll just say, not received well by the community. Thought we need to do a better job at is communicating to the public. But yet, there's items that are outside our control that's going to negatively impact, my opinion, our ability to do so. So the House Committee on wireless small cell towers, Senate Bill 37, it really impacts the Zoning Enabling Act, ability for communities and municipalities to manage their property. We all understand with technology and 5G and what's needed to get communications to everybody. Nobody's disputing that. But to not have the ability to have input other than going to Lansing in a committee when it should have been addressed before it got this far, our senators and state representatives have to continue to be reminded at times, I think, that the local governments need their support, and that doesn't include lessening the authorities that we have. If that's not far enough, at the federal level, the FCC is supporting this on a national-wide level. So this isn't just the city of Monroe or the state of Michigan. We see a large impact that'll be when you talk about the placement of in right-of-ways and taking away local control. So I know that there'll be groups that will be in Lansing sharing these as I will also be sharing with our state senator and our state representative the concerns regarding this Senate bill and how it moves forward. So I think that's my final comment. Oh, one more comment, sorry. Boards and commissions, even though I did jump in with Councilman Michael Angeles on the LOCC, I know the council has asked for some information regarding attendance on the Citizens Planning Commission. That was provided for you just to take with you and look at. I will say that one of the members that's on there, while he continues to show not as being absent, he is a current member but has asked not to be reappointed and knew that transition was occurring, which will get me to the vacancies that I wanted to cover with council and those present here this evening. As I always, and council always, wants it to be known that there's opportunities to serve your community without being an elected official. The Citizen Planning Commission does have a vacancy in the 6th precinct, which are the one that I just mentioned, and I do have a outreach to a couple that are considering that. The library we've talked about before, and that'll be kind of a broader perspective review as we resurrect that library commission as the city manager and administration brings forward some of those agreements with the county library system. I want to thank the city council for approving the recommendation to the Historic District Commission this evening, that appointment recommendation. Also at our work session, we talked about the Recreation Advisory Commission. I think that's as we talked and can be watched at the work session taping, a broader perspective of how we move forward versus the current structure. So that'll be conversations with the council. The Brownfield Redevelopment Authority has one vacancy currently, and as I mentioned earlier, the Local Officers Compensation Commission, which is important as the reason stated when the authority which that has, that council then approves and recommends the salary for not only the council, the mayor, but also the clerk treasurer. But it's a commission that only meets once every 2 years. It's important, and it's done before petitions. So those are my comments this evening. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
I just have a few, Your Honor. For the residents, the absentee ballots have finally all arrived in our office, so we will be doing the initial mailing to all of our permanent absentee voters who've turned their application in. Just a reminder, Michigan is one of the states where you have to have an application on file at each election in order to receive your absentee ballot. So you won't automatically receive a ballot unless you submit your application. And we are happy to help you do that. They're available online. There are links from our current website, or just come down to our office and we can issue you an application. You can complete it there, and then we can issue you the ballot. For those residents who may be leaving town this week and are concerned that their absentee application ballot won't reach them in time before they leave, please call our office and we will make sure that you can get in and retrieve your ballot. We will then continue to accept absentee applications, and on a daily basis we'll mail out the ballots based on those requests. The 15-minute parking signs will be back up soon thanks to DPS, and in cooperation with the mayor. We'll have 3 spots again where those who are doing city business for the elections, you're welcome to park there. And again, it's a 10 to 15-minute parking, so please just be respectful of that so that everyone has a chance to use it. And if you have any questions about the voting process, the election is November 6th. Please call our office. You can go online. We also, thanks to Councilman Michaelangeli for mentioning the app, I'd forgotten about that, but we are also starting to put information about the elections on there as well. So we're trying to make it as easy as we can for you to communicate with us and for us to communicate with you. But we are here Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. We do not close for lunch. So if you want to come in and talk with a human being, which is still nice in this high-tech world, we are there for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu?
Thank you, Your Honor. I do want to apologize for the tone of my response when we were talking about the chairs for the council chambers. In reflection, is probably unprofessional approach to it. But I also have to tell you that you have employees that work phenomenally hard to try and make the best decisions that we can for these projects. And there are a lot of projects going on. And I certainly know that in the case of the chairs that they looked at a number of vendors. There was vendors out there with much higher price tags, and it was their opinion that this was the best value that we have. But clearly, I apologize for the tone of my response. I apologize for that.
I certainly don't have a problem with stools. We get out of here a lot faster.
I asked comments. Just joking.
That's all right. Thank you.
Hey, any comments from those present here this evening? Any further comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
If I may.
Name and address, please. 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
That's what it says.
I can't give you my name in 3. Connie Carroll, 216 North Monroe Street. Listening to the comments about the new furniture, how exciting for all of you. Could I remind you that there are 25 nonprofit agencies who are always extremely grateful for chairs that have not reached their maximum rub, for conference tables that may have a little dent in them. So as you see your new digs, would you please keep in mind that perhaps there are others who could use those things that you are passing on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Connie. Great. Other comments from those present here this evening? Seeing no further comments, a motion is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Eglangeli?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.